All right, so welcome everyone to, again, the Magellan Greenhouse. This is the last session for the day. Big thanks to Magellan, major sponsors of FinFest. I'm super excited to listen to this story because Adam's going to walk us through, right? One of the most complex things that we all have to deal with eventually is tax. So it'll be really interesting to see and hear his opinions because tax is a confusing topic and a new kind of asset class, right, that we were chatting about before this started. Obviously, crypto, it's super evolving, it moves super quick. So you need to have, obviously, have the right tax calculator when it comes to this ever-evolving asset class being crypto. Disclaimer, if you can hear this, well, you can just kind of drone out to this part, but this is where I'm going to tell you, this is all factual, general information, general advice, obviously. It's educational purposes. Don't take this as personal financial advice. I'm actually a registered financial advisor or investment advisor or stockbroker, whatever you want to call them. So if you have any actual detailed questions about that, I'm happy to answer them. But also, Adam will take your questions as well after his prezzo. So with that, let's kick it off. Please welcome Adam.
Awesome. Thank you there, and thanks everyone for being here today. It's a pleasure to do these things, come to events and to meet like our customers or people that are interested in it. One of the coolest things about today was probably turning up and seeing the queue all the way out into Barangaroo of people that are spending their Saturdays coming here to learn more about like financial literacy and what they can do to make money, and to have like events like this out in Barangaroo and see such a great crowd is awesome. It just shows like how seriously people are taking it, and it's a pleasure for us Koinly to be a sponsor of this event and other events that we go to. It's the last session of the day. I know everyone's had a long day, so I'll make it as fun and entertaining as possible. And don't mind me if I got some cue cards, because the first one says not financial advice disclaimer. So all the important stuff that I have to remember to go through. And Koinly's not a financial advisor. We're a software company. And I probably have one of the most unique jobs in Australia at the moment. So what we wanted to do is take some time to take you through kind of who is Koinly, why I have a unique job, and what's happening with cryptocurrency, and also the regulations and tax implications. Actually, I was speaking to one of the members of the audience outside, and they said thank you for working for a company like Koinly that actually takes the time to make crypto less taxing, easier to understand. And myself, I was trading before, and I actually have 2 rocket tattoos, one up, one down, like the market, but I don't have any tax tattoos because I didn't even know it was something that was a consideration. But anytime you make money, there's tax implications. So essentially, about 4 years ago, our founder, who was a tech lead at a top 100 company, was making money in crypto and thought, I'm going to do the right thing and pay taxes, and realized there was no way to calculate those taxes. And also that the regulations were quite ambiguous around them and the guidelines. So he went to work in creating an app, and since then, we've gone from strength to strength and been able to be in now 20 countries. We got offices in 5 countries, but at the start of the year, we actually had no offices. We were only a handful of people that worked on Slack. And I got this wild job of starting an office from my couch in Bondi. And from there, we went from 1 person to 33 people in about 12 weeks and got voted as one of the best places to work in Australia. And the reason it's a unique job is at the same time as doing that, we have to kind of work with the ATO to understand what is their guidelines, make sure that our software is as close as possible, and pretty much like start feeding that back. So sometimes it feels like we've got like lions on one side and bears on the other, and we're like holding everyone back, trying to understand what's going on, and puts us in this like unique corner of the market of cryptocurrency, tax regulations, and what is it, and just trying to demystify that. So when I go through and talk about what is, firstly, Koinly, software you can plug in all your wallets, your exchange data, and cold storage devices, and basically see what is a capital gains event and what's not, so that you can be as close to the regulations as possible. But the ATO itself is still trying to understand what those regulations are going to be. And we actually invest to have our own head of tax, and the head of tax was recently on the submissions to the Board of Tax around how they're going to be treating assets moving forward. And what's even more unique about the space is the ATO actually updated their guidance mid-tax season. So that's how kind of behind they would be in trying to catch up. And that's mainly because crypto's doing a lightning speed run of what was the banking industry took, 300-400 years to build, and tax could keep up. Crypto's now done that in like years, has just changed that whole industry. And we're trying to understand, well, how is this impacting people? And crypto wasn't actually made to be like a stock or shares. It was a technology for decentralized information. And that's just been a side product of it. So it's a very interesting space to be. And we recently did some research to crypto traders. And like 15% of crypto traders today still say that they didn't know that it was taxable or didn't have any indication that they wanted to pay tax on it. And like, I think that's kind of just the mindset of crypto traders as well, because they see themselves as outliers and bitter rebels. But what people don't realize is the ATO actually has data backdoors to all of the exchanges. So if you've been trading or holding digital assets any time over the last 5-6 years, especially when KYC came in, all this information has started to be cataloged by the ATO. And they may have not got to you yet, but they will have that information. So it's really important that if you are experimenting into digital assets as an investment opportunity, or even a technology, that you understand that having something like Koinly is important because it allows you to at least see what your position would be. And the ATO updated their guidance recently to say that they actually recommend that you use a system like us. Because in essence, if you were buying an altcoin and you went from Bitcoin to Binance Smart Chain into the altcoin, that transaction alone has created 3 capital gains events. Every time you switch a coin or change a coin, that's a new event. That's like buying and selling a house each time in the eyes of the ATO. And we went to an accountant to chat about this recently, and they said, you can't pay us enough to go through and to do this manual reconciliation, because they would have to go line by line on all of this. And we had a bot trader that came to us with 800,000 transactions in the last year. Like, how are you going to go through and manually understand 800,000 transactions and know what the right thing to do is by tax? Like, it's ridiculous. I don't even get my income tax right. Like, that's why I go to an accountant for it. And that's the recommendation with something like us, is you use us and an accountant to be able to do that. But we have this unique perspective of being able to try and understand what the government is trying to do around it. And it's led to our product being used more as a generic portfolio tracker now. So people can use it throughout the year to just understand, are they making money? Are they not? Where are they sitting? So it's not a surprise at the end of the day. And we invest, as I said, to have a head of tax for that. And it's an interesting time to try and sell a crypto tax calculator to the economy, because if anyone's paying attention, there's a lot of red at the moment across the board, and crypto even more so. I was speaking to our partners at Koinly recently, and they said their trends are that people have started moving more back to just Bitcoin and Ethereum because it's seen as a safer value. But the answer would be, why do people want to get into crypto these days, considering that there is so much red? But as we're sitting here and talking to all of these different companies around that offer financial products, the digital ecosystem of crypto has a place in any sophisticated investor's portfolio, but it just has a larger element of risk with it. It's not had the history that property has. It's not had the history that some of these big investment firms have. But Credit Suisse is one of the biggest banks in the world, and they're speaking to underwriters. So it's not really a safe market out there at the moment, but it's still we're seeing every day new people joining our platform and investing in crypto because they believe in it for the long term. And the government's doing as much as they can to kind of understand that and make that clear. But I mean, one thing that we have that's quite interesting is a lot of this trading data, to be able to see how macroeconomic situations like the war in Ukraine and Russia are being able to impact people using crypto, and how people are basically reacting to these environments and how they're trading is all part of what we can actually see. And be able to produce a software that makes the investment choice is at least a little bit more transparent on how they're going for you. And from like the regulatory point of view, it's a super complicated space. And the border tax is doing a review at the moment to try and understand that. They should update their guidances in the next year, but in about 12 weeks' time, you'll actually be able to see what all the industry key players, including like the big four, ourselves, and exchanges have submitted to the government as regulations. And that will hopefully create some framework. I mean, there was a member that I spoke to today in the crowd, and he said he's really worried if he writes code in crypto and releases it, is that code going to end him up in jail? And that's a real scenario if you write the wrong piece of code, right? So you need to understand these regulations that are coming, that are out there. And it goes a step further. I mean, we were at CryptoCon recently, and this really large guy, looked like an NFL player, came up to us. And he said, you know, I'm here to try and learn a bit more. And we asked him to dive into it. And next to him was this kid who was like 9, who was super awkward and like twirling his hands around in his t-shirt. And we said to the dad, oh, it's great to see your son's here. He's like, my son's here because he's the reason that I got a problem. Because his son had been playing games and yield farming and doing DeFi and accumulated a large amount of wealth. And at 9 years old, like, what kid's thinking about tax? Like, but this is like what's happening now as technology is evolving and providing these unique challenges. And it's great to be there as Koinly and be able to provide that transparency. But one thing that we do, and there'll be more on this to come soon, but we provide a lot of training, a lot of like webinars, a lot of blogs to try and to make this easier. So if you follow our business or our journey, we're literally like in communications with, whether it be the Board of Tax, making like daily updates and submissions on what we think our recommendations would be, and getting our reports audited, so we kind of take away that problem. But yeah, it's a really interesting space to work in, and a pleasure to see so many people today come up to us and talk to us about it. And you can see we've got a great team here, and we're going to be here to talk to you outside if you have any detailed questions in it. Everyone here is welcome to come get a free tax report from us and try and see what you can do. But it's the information piece that I think is a real value add that we can bring. And that with our product, we'll consistently try and keep you as up to date as possible as what's happening with the regulations. But we're definitely not seeing a slowdown in trading volume on our side. So it seems that crypto is here to stay, and having that guidance is going to be super important. And for myself, I love the idea of working in like decentralized environments. So I grew up in a third world country, Trinidad and Tobago, and St. Vincent and Mauritius before that. And I worked at an exchange for a bit, and the founder of the exchange was from Indonesia. And he said that a lot of people there still keep money in their mattresses. And they keep it in their mattresses because if you have $100 in your bank account and that feeds your family for the next 2 weeks, the government can randomly choose to take $50 out of your bank account. And then you end up losing that money that you had to feed your family, right? That's like a real situation. So cryptocurrency provides that element of safety. Or even if you look in Africa, where Bitcoin Lightning is becoming like a really quick payment option for people. I see videos of kids cycling to stores and paying for their grocery on Bitcoin Lightning. And you know, we are lucky in Australia to live in quite a safe country, a financially secure country, but also be the people that are the seed investors of this new technology. Because when you look at the problem these countries have, even if you have like dictators or a political system that's not as, let's say, legitimate as other countries, like being able to have some control of your finances and not have it be taken away from you and invested into civil wars and under guns is actually important. And that's one of the key things that people in the decentralized world want to do. So, you know, we're lucky to have the option to invest in cryptocurrency as a high-risk kind of gamble. And as you know, the Australians like a punt. But for the people in the third world, decentralized finance actually provides them a pathway to a future and more stability. So it's really, for me and the team, a pleasure to kind of work in a space where it has such a macroeconomic impact on people and their livelihood, and trying to make it easier to understand. Because we get emails every day, and as I said, we're not a financial advising company. of people just like begging for help. They're like, how can you help me understand this? What can I do? I had a project and it made loads of money and like, I didn't accumulate for tax and now I got a $10 million tax bill. Like that's an email I got this week. And it's an interesting position to be in to see how it's changing and developing. But I'd recommend if anyone here is investing in digital assets, us or even our competitors, right? Just do the right thing by having this tracking system. Because the government is aware that people have made money in this space. And as they say, the only thing in life that's certain is death and taxes. And the US, the SEC, is hiring 87,000 investigators to look into this space over in the US. So like people aren't taking this lightly. So it's really important if you do look at decentralized currencies that you use something like us that can help. And my team's here to kind of help and support that. But just wanted to take some time today to thank people for taking financial literacy serious, coming to places like this to learn and to grow, and taking the time to speak to the team. And like I said, come see us afterwards, get a free tax report and some swag. But wanted to share our startup journey and to explain how tricky the landscape is there for people investing in this space. And we're just here to try and make it a bit easier and lift that fog. But yeah, it's been a pleasure to be here today and welcome as many chats as possible with you guys afterwards. And that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today.
Awesome. So Adam, we've got a bit of time on the clock.
Yep. We have some time on the clock. Normally people say no Q&As, but I'm gung-ho for it. So
you cool with that?
Yeah, if anyone wants to do some Q&As, feel free to ask.
I might kick us off with one quick question.
Yep.
Love a prediction, right? I know it's hard to predict, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think the crypto market will do in the next 1 to 5 year period.
Well, firstly, I think we're all in for a pretty rough ride in the next few years. Like, we can all say we would love for it to be going in the right direction. But if we have a look at all the indicators of property companies collapsing, stocks going down, banks trying to get bailout. I read the other day that the UK pension fund nearly went under on a Friday and had to go get help from the government. That's not a third world country. That is a place that literally, I don't know if people know, but London is 5 cities in one. And one of them is the city of Canary Wharf, which is its own independent island that has different tax rules and considerations. It's a financial hub. It always has been. The country nearly went broke on pensions. Like, that's wild. And even if you look at it in Australia, on an economic policy, like, we need to maintain a net migration rate of 190,000 a year to be able to continue our economic growth. And myself, I got a global talent visa to be able to be here today, which is direct pathway because of the stuff that I do in this space. But the government's trying to increase migration because we went back 600,000 people in COVID, and we need a net migration of 190, which means that we're missing 790,000 people here. That's 790,000 people at restaurants, working, paying tax. That's just gone. So even if we look at ourselves as an economy, it's not going to get easier anytime soon. But what's interesting for myself about digital assets as a space is it's a platform for innovation. And while when we talk about what's happening and we're not seeing all these green lights, it's normally when companies double down on their investment in building products. And instead of start looking at dollar signs and making profit and growth, they know they're in for a longer time. Maybe they retrench some staff and then they start investing into building products. And we're seeing that with the likes of Facebook reallocating, what was it, like 10,000 staff. They basically gave 30 days notice to find a new job within Facebook or move on because they're investing in the metaverse because they're seeing that it's going to be a tough ride for a few years. But there's one thing someone told me when I got into tech in like 2010 is you have ups and downs, but you very rarely have bubbles in technology. It keeps growing, it keeps evolving. And what crypto has given us is the opportunity to invest in networks or technologies where that was normally reserved for VCs. Like you have the San Francisco tech boom and the stuff that was happening in 2000s with the dot-com boom. The people that made money from that was the VCs. Well, every time you go and invest in a project that you believe in, you become a venture capital investor for that project. Never before has there been an opportunity for someone to say, I have an idea, create a coin or a token about it, and then go and raise funds that quickly. And that's actually what led to XRP being stuck in an issue with the SEC, because they went out and said, like, oh, we're going to do a token for XRP and then use the revenue to start development. And they're like, well, hold on, that's a share. And that's what's led them into this whole situation. But essentially, when you're investing in projects, what do you think they're going to do with the money? They're going to keep building. So it gives you the opportunity to be a seed investor in that. So I think that even though we're going to see a tough ride economically for the next few years, what I will see is technology will develop to give us more pathways to invest in stuff that we believe in. You know, there's tokens out there and projects out there that focus on building actually Axie Infinity that most people here know. The founder of Axie Infinity just bought the rights for the DNA sequence for a white rhino. As in, like, you guys seen Jurassic Park? You guys seen what's happening in the scientists? Wait until a white rhino token drops. And someone starts bringing back white rhinos. That's something that they're trying to do. So if you believe that people want to protect endangered animals, then that's a really interesting investment that you can make. And that's something that cryptocurrency is going to give you the opportunity to do, is to be that seed investor in projects that you believe in. But one thing I would say is just watch out for the Ponzi economics. Like, for me, I love the fact that the market's going to shit. Because it gets rid of...
So you're buying right now? Are you buying now?
Well, I always dollar average in and out, right? It's the best way to do it, and not financial advice, gotta say it. Where's my slide? Because, like, you can't pick it. Like, you can't pick this stuff. No one knew that Putin was going to go to war. No one knew that someone was going to bomb a pipeline recently. Shit happens, and it affects us all. But for myself, I invest in projects I believe in, ones that I really want to do well, but I only stick to the main ones because what's out there is a lot of shit. People saying, I bought this coin, so you should buy this coin, so the price goes up, and don't worry, because yours will go up when you tell someone else to buy it. Like, that's a pyramid scheme. That's the stuff that screws with technology innovation because it scares people. Like, what's going to happen right now is people have lost money in cryptocurrency. They're soft hands, as they call them, but instead of people just sticking through it. But what it will do is shake off the people that were manipulating it, or the people that were trying to build projects that didn't have legs, like, give us money and we will go buy yachts to party on. That sounds like a great business. But what's their business model, right? Like, what if you basically stick to projects that you believe in, you can find some really cool stuff out there. But all the red that we're seeing at the moment is going to make people that have been trying to play the game run away, and that's great, because that means that people that love technology like myself and the people I work with can get to work with building some cool shit for the future, as opposed to having to look over our shoulders because someone's trying to make a quick buck by selling it to their auntie.
Yeah. And I love what you said, because it's obviously about your risk tolerance, right? But what Adam was saying earlier is if you want to have in your portfolio a small amount, or what is appropriate for your risk, is great. And the other point I love listening to you is what I think Warren Buffett said it and Charlie Munger said it one time, is invest in the future. Like, what are the next generation doing? Like, I've got a daughter, she's not yet one, but she'll be doing crazy shit in 20 years' time that we're not doing now. And so NFTs, and like you said, that little 9-year-old kid, like, that's the future. So it's super exciting, the space you're in.
So I had a company, I still have a company in an art space where it does augmented reality art galleries for actual canvases that people want to buy. So you point your phone at a wall and the artwork appears. And one of the interesting points of having a company in this was I was like, I'm doing this because AR is coming. Glasses are coming that are going to be able for you to see. This is great to compete with. For you to be able to see literally in front of you as you drive, an arrow that says where to go. You're going to wake up in the morning and there's going to be your floating emails. It's going to be the weather. Like, augmented reality is coming. And I was building in that space. So when I started seeing things like Gala and Metaverse projects and like Decentraland in crypto, I was like, yeah, of course I'm going to invest in that. I'm building in that. And then like 2 weeks later, Facebook changes its name to Meta. And I made a lot of money for that one. So thanks for Mark Zuckerberg. But like, it's part of that. I could see it coming. I was like, how can I build a project or a company that's going to get ahead there? Because VR headsets were coming out. Facebook bought Oculus in like 2015 or 2014. They were building it for this. They've been planning it for a while, so it makes sense that if you invested in VR a few years ago, you'd probably be doing all right. So if you find projects you like, or you can see the future of where it's going, then you can make some smarter investment choices. But as always do your research, speak to a financial advisor, and get an accountant. Because what do I know, right? I'm just sitting here with a couple of tabs.
Equity line.
I will say this about investing. Everything you do learn is cumulative. What I learned at 20 is useful.